All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real drama, politics, the presidential election, music being used without permission, and all kinds of other stuff, and doing it real time for like 3 or 4 real people out there, just like you and just like me. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all the subscribers, the patrons over on Patreon, the YouTube members, and those buy me a coffee people. I am caffeinated thanks to many nice people. So, speaking of not nice people, no, just the Foo Fighters are upset. And I'll tell you why the Foo Fighters are upset. And this is typical neoliberal going out to every classic rock radio station in the country because we know how classic rock the Foo Fighters are. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Did you know that? The Foo Fighters, they're in there. The Guess Who, they're not in there. Steppenwolf isn't in there. Jim Croce isn't in there. Dan Fogelberg, he's not in there. It's a pretty big list, and it's getting ridiculous who's in there and who should be in there. The who should be in there list is just growing by the day. And you may have your pet peeve as to who should be in there. J.J. Cale, the legendary songwriter and performer who passed away a number of years ago, inspired so many great artists, including Eric Clapton. He's not in there. And they talk a lot about influence. Who did the Foo Fighters influence, by the way? Weren't they just the like rock du jour during the 90s? Aren't they just like everybody else during that time frame? Oh, I know. Dave Grohl from Nirvana. He's in the Foo Fighters. And Nirvana, they're as cool as the Beatles, supposedly. So anything that kind of offshoots from the band that's responsible for destroying melodic rock for the most part and destroying the melodic rock industry and making the mainstream rock 40 sound like I don't want to do any. I promised one of my patrons I wasn't going to go all just dark and say certain things. So I'll just say it's not very uplifting. How's that? It's not. It's downright depressing. And if you suffer from depression, I don't think listening to this music is going to help you all that much, right? Rock and roll used to be fun. So anyway, let me get to the point of this video. So last night, and it was a pretty inspirational moment, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Appeared at this Trump rally in Phoenix, Arizona. And he showed up and he entered the building, or he walked up on stage to the song My Hero by the Foo Fighters. And every classic rock station reported this today. And of course, mentioned that the tune was from the band's 1997 album, The Color and the Shape. It was used at a rally in Arizona. And the band let it be known on social media that they did not approve the song's use. Somebody, of course, asked them on social media, hey, did you let Trump use My Hero? And the official Foo Fighters account replied and said, no. And if anyone questioned what they meant, which I don't know why you would question no is a pretty clear answer, they retweeted and said, let us be clear. The Foo Fighters were not asked permission. And if they were, they wouldn't have granted it. That means a big fat no. Adding, appropriate actions are being taken. Like what? They're going to sue somebody? They're going to sue Trump? Of course they're going to. Everyone sues Trump. They just sue him or try to put him in jail. Look, again, I actually was more inclined to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about a month or two ago. That's where I was. And then they tried to kill Donald Trump. They shot, remember, they hit his ear. I know the media has kind of erased that. He turned his head just a little bit. Looks like it was kind of a divine moment for Donald Trump. And most people who don't even believe in God were saying that's wild because he just turned enough where it missed him. And we still don't know anything about the shooter, by the way. Did you know that the shooter's body was it was cremated? It was cremated. They washed down the roof. They got rid of all the evidence. We don't really know that much about this guy, this person. this kid. We don't know that much about him. So after that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to vote for Trump. Number one, I want low gas prices. I know I'm a selfish person, right? I want low interest rates. I want low food prices. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. You go to the grocery store, and yeah, we still live in a great country. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, the country is the worst it's ever been. It's pretty bad in some ways. It was better in 2018, in 2019. It was way better, even in 2020 before, the lockdowns and everything, and that was not good. Um, but prior to that, I really enjoyed that economy. That economy was good. People had good jobs. Wages were going up. Prices were going down. I mean, $1.96 for a gallon of gas. Yeah, sign me up for more of that. That's why I decided, hey, but why are they trying to kill him? I mean, is it that they don't want people to enjoy their lives and prosper and do well? That's kind of weird. And then RFK, you would think RFK would be somebody's hero, right? Has been advocating for cleaning up the air and the water. He's a classical liberal from the old days, anti-war. Notice how none of these bands, did the Foo Fighters ever speak out against war? No, they probably were gung-ho to support Ukraine. Yes, let's give money to Zelensky in Ukraine while the infrastructure here in the United States continues to crumble. Let's do that. That's a good idea. In the old days, bands like Steppenwolf and the Guess Who, those guys who aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they were pretty clear on what they thought of our interventions around the world back in the Vietnam era. But it seems as though the tables have turned a bit. RFK, who made a speech, talked about how Trump and he agree that they need to unravel the war machine. You would think the Foo Fighters would dig that stuff, but no. They indicated that any royalties from Trump's use of the song will be donated to the Kamala Harris Tim Tampon Walls campaign. Unreal. The Foo Fighters are far from the first artist to oppose Trump's use of their music. Neil Young has threatened to sue him for using Rockin' in the Free World, and earlier in August, Beyoncé's camp threatened legal action when her song Freedom was used in an online video for Trump. The estates of both Tom Petty and Isaac Hayes have also been vocal about their opposition to Trump using their music. I'm sure that not all of the royalties will go to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And as far as Tom Petty and Isaac Hayes, you would think, regardless of who used the song, that they would welcome people who may have not heard the songs. Isaac Hayes is Hold On, I'm Coming. And Tom Petty is probably I Won't Back Down. And look, this is the music of the generation that supports Donald Trump for president, and also now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for president. I have no clue, other than that they just hate Donald Trump. I have no clue why anyone would support Kamala Harris for president. I have what idea, what new great policy proposal has she put out there to convince Americans that they would be better if they voted for her? That's really the job of any presidential candidate. Convince us why we should vote for you. Don't just say the other guy is so bad. Well, I've heard what the other guy is going to do, and I've also seen what he did when he was president of the United States. The country was doing pretty well when Trump was president. You may not like him as a person. I get that. You may think he's very narcissistic. I totally understand that. I mean, it's pretty clear, right? But when a guy like RFK Jr. endorses Donald Trump, these rock stars from pretty much every generation should stand up and take notice that a Kennedy, an old school classical liberal like RFK Jr., is seeing that this is the way to go, and that the censorship and the medical industrial complex, that's another one too. Of course, they're just going to say, well, he's anti, you know what? If I say the V word, right? Because it's not. If it was a good product, I'm sure that people would say, yes, this is safe and effective and it's great. All right. And I'm sure Kennedy, who a lot of people think is a kook, knows 100 times more than the average citizen on this issue. And before you throw stones at him, you shouldn't just, speak in platitudes. You should do research. And I'm glad that he's out there because he's actually raising awareness on this issue. Whereas one of Trump's, I think, deficits was that he was there in 2020 kind of calling the shots, and a lot of people didn't forgive him. Well, I made peace with that when that bullet almost hit him. I made peace with it. And I know a lot of other Americans did too. And RFK is a good guy. And the Foo Fighters, this is just to get a little press attention. Hey, we're not one of those. We're not one of those deplorable types. We're not one of those people that actually wants to make America great again. No, we're not that. We are completely against that. And that's, by the way, what we've had for the past 4 years. If you want more of that, stick with Harrison Walls. If you like that, if you like high interest rates, if you like high prices at the grocery store and a crazy, mixed up, upside down foreign policy, and no diplomacy, just keep sending the weapons, keep sending the money to both of those countries, both of them right now. I'm talking about Israel and I'm talking about Ukraine. There's no oversight to anything. Even if you agree, say, if you think it's a good idea that we send money and weapons to Israel, and I'm sure some of this audience thinks that's a good idea. I'm not sure I do, but here's the punchline. There's no oversight. There's none. I mean, the money just goes. We don't know how it's being used. Are you getting any return on your investment, even if you believe in any of this stuff? Ukraine has been a disaster. And RFK and Trump, I think, are on the same page there, and they will do something to stop this. And I believe if you have strong diplomacy and you act strong as a leader, I think other countries are going to feel a little less inclined to do the things that they're doing currently. That's all I'm saying. And so the Foo Fighters, hey, protesting Trump. Shocker, right? News at 11. I mean, is that really a story? It is to me because it's so weird how rock and roll has become so pro war. It's so pro big corporation and big business. It's pro pharma. It's pro all the things that it didn't used to be pro. And it's because they're making money and they don't want to be out of this club where they can make money. And this trickles all the way down to the people playing this music, which everything is political. Some people say to me, years ago I said I wasn't going to get political. I don't want people to be political. And then I jumped in because everything has become political. This is on a rock website that I'm reading this article. Classic rock station, 939.com. Go look it up. All of these radio stations put out the same stuff that comes from the corporate office. I mean, it's really scary how it's all coordinated. It's either lazy or it's just sophisticated. I'm not sure which it is. It could be both. But there's never any shadow of turning here. It's always the same thing. And so, I don't know. Trust the Foo Fighters. They know best for your life. Vote for Harrison Walls because the Foo Fighters are. Just like I said during the thing-demic, don't get your medical advice from people like Gene Simmons or Dee Snider or Sebastian Bach or Dave Grohl. Get your medical advice from a doctor who dissents from the corporation, which is the U.S. government. all right, and the CDC and the FDA and all these corporations, which again, Kennedy has made great points about how all of these organizations are captured by large corporations, and it's basically a cesspool, an incestuous cesspool, where they're taking your taxpayer dollars and they're funneling it to these corporations that develop all these super wonderful products like Ozempic. So you can hear a pilot song get destroyed every single time the commercial comes on. And you're like, I remember in the 70s where I used to love this song. Now it's been ruined. Now I'm singing, Ozempic. Yay. It's great. All right. I think I've rambled enough. If you want to support this channel, there are a couple of ways to do it, because I am against the algorithm, and it's not just because of my ban on people just spamming the page, which I'm not going to change on that. I have to explain it to people when they join why I've decided to take that approach. So I ask for people to join Patreon or become a YouTube member, which is fairly anonymous. If you don't want to be seen or heard and you want to help the channel, you do the YouTube membership. Buy Me a Coffee has been great because people will send me messages. And I appreciate not only the coffee, but the nice things that people say. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, and I need that. Everybody needs that in this world right now, because who knows? Maybe the Foo Fighters will prevail and their candidate of choice will be the winner. And then what happens to America? Well, I say the 10th Amendment is your best friend, and find a state where they aren't insane, like Florida, where I live, or Texas. There are a few good states out there, but who knows how long that's going to last. I want to thank everyone for supporting the channel and watching these videos. I'll be back, and it's not just politics, but we're in the political season. So more content like this probably coming your way.